Hey there, I'm Nolan. This is a Tama Kingbeat pedal that I was contracted to repair for my local brass band. For those who may not be familiar with it, Tama released the Kingbeat pedal in the late 70s. It was a direct drive, compression spring, full body aluminum pedal, marketed as part of their pro level lineup designed to handle rugged demands of touring. The earliest trace I found of this pedal appears in the Tama 1977 catalog. At that time, it featured a polished aluminum finish with a black main body housing. But by the very next year, Tama had dropped the black detailing entirely and switched to an all bare metal design. The pedal was advertised as the strongest, most adjustable, and most consistent drum pedal ever made. Designed to last a lifetime, it was said to be durable, portable, and ergonomic, with a smooth, responsive action. By the time 1984 rolled around, the Kingbeat pedal had started to take on a different look. The extra footboard plates were now gone, and the footboard itself was now flat. By 1985, it had become almost identical to Tama's lower budget pedal offerings, and by 1986, the Kingbeat was no more. To start, we'll need to disassemble everything, and as you'll soon see, these pedals require a little bit more planning and equipment than your average drum pedal. This pedal's sealed spring housing was designed from the ground up to keep the lubricant in and the dirt out. So in theory, popping off this back cover shouldn't really require any service, so... Well, unless Tama smeared the inside of the pedals with mud, I really don't think it's supposed to look like this. Let's wipe away all this grease and take a closer look at the pedal mechanism. Check out this nifty little piece of geometric engineering. Pretty cool. Move forward, we need to remove the beater assembly and the cam assembly. Luckily, the big shiny wing nut seems like an obvious place to start.
Scheiße.
Then we have these two grub screws on either side of the cam. Make sure to inspect your pedal carefully before pulling on anything. It took me a minute to find all the adjustments standing in my way. On the heel side, we can unscrew the heel pad, and surprisingly, these three screws holding it on weren't Loctited. Kind of unusual, but I really appreciate it. Next, we can unhook the footboard from the direct drive. To do that, we just remove the bracket holding everything in place, and with a little fidgeting, it pops right off.
Good whacking.
On the hoop clamp side, floor spikes and clamp assembly look straightforward enough to disassemble. That said, as much as I wanted to remove the bar inside the clamp itself, it required a lot of heat. The bar isn't just held by two set screws, it's also locked in with Loctite. I managed to free the bent bar, only to be stumped by the axle holding the clamping teeth in place. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't budge. Ideally, I would have disassembled everything to clean it up properly. But sometimes, a detailed restoration is just as much about knowing when to push and when to quit. It wasn't a huge deal, just a little annoying.
You win this round.
Next, we need to pull the drive shaft out from the mating surfaces. First, we remove this bushing. After that, a nice little trick I found is to screw the wing nut back on and use it to gain purchase on the drive shaft. Either pulling by hand or using gentle persuasion with a rubber-tipped hammer works. Now comes to by far the hardest part of this restoration, removing the compression spring chamber from the main body of the pedal. It took me a long time to figure out the proper way to do this. The first thing I noticed was another little set screw on the side. Once that's out, there's this large, awkward, thin nut screwed on top of the chamber. If you have it, just use a regular socket wrench and you should be fine. Pause the tape. At this point, it's worth mentioning that there's another variant of this locking nut. A darker, more sinister, cruel evil twin. Once upon a time on this very same pedal, instead of a standard hexagonal nut, there was a year or two where Tama used this weird round thing with the 4 dimples on the outside, making it an absolute nightmare to remove with conventional tools. I found out this is called a 4-groove round nut, or a slotted nut, depending on which country's website managed to interpret your garbage Google search. Apparently, these are common in the automotive industry, and in order to remove them the right way, you need a 4-lug round nut socket, a spindle socket, or an axle nut socket. Let me just check my toolbox for niche specialist automotive engineer repair tools, and... So in order to remove the 4-groove smooth round or slotted nut, in this case, here's what I came up with. If you got a pretty basic tool chest, the easiest way is to find something with a small head, like a Torx bit or an Allen key, and lodge it into one of the aforementioned dimples. Use the body of the pedal housing to create a wedge. Next, if you unscrew the bottom of the compression chamber, you'll find that once you remove all the stuff inside, Tama has graciously gifted us a pair of holes lined up with each other. You can shove something strong, rigid, and thin enough in there to gain a bit of purchase. Then, you pray to Californian surfing Jesus, and hope you can unscrew the nut in little tiny hops, using whatever you've shoved in the bottom to apply torque against the lock nut, wedged against the main body of the pedal. Sound confusing? Yeah, because it is. To think that a reputable drum manufacturer like Tama would take a page out of Yamaha's book, walk downstairs to their automotive department, and save a few bucks by putting this on their pedals, making it that much harder for random weirdos like me 50 years later to pull apart something they so carefully assembled, just to satisfy my OCD-adjacent obsession with restoring niche drum parts nobody uses anymore? The audacity. Anyway, if you won the pedal lottery, you don't need to worry about this, so let's just move on. The housing for the spring, nylon bushings, and the rest of the internals all came out without a fuss. That's the pedal fully disassembled. Now we need to clean everything before servicing the moving parts. For all of those who are interested, here's a quick overview of all the different parts inside the pedal, including diameters, thread sizes, and all that jazz. Just in case you're doing this yourself and need to replace something, feel free to pause the video and write it down, I guess. There's a lot of old grease on this pedal. It's coagulated, full of dust and debris, and all that junk just gives it this seriously nasty je ne sais quoi. I tried a few different degreasing methods with what I had on hand and decided to experiment a little at the same time. The first thing I tried was washing like with like, using some extra motor oil I had laying around and a toothbrush to dilute the dried up grease and scrub most of it away before introducing any degreaser. After a scrub and a soak, I'll say this definitely helped remove the driest, most gelatinous bits. After that, I washed the larger parts with dish soap and water, and the smaller parts with 100% acetone. If you want to make this job way easier on yourself, I highly recommend investing in an ultrasonic cleaner. The detergent solution with ultrasound cleans small parts like this incredibly well and saves a lot of time. With everything out of the ultrasonic cleaner, I hit pretty much all of the parts with a generic WD-40 type generic light oil spray to help drive off any remaining water. The compression springs and such I let sit in motor oil until I was ready for reassembly. With everything clean and shiny, we can start reassembling. It's worth mentioning that this is where you really want thick grease, something that lubricates well but is also sticky enough to stay put all around these moving parts. I used a packing grease that I had laying around, but honestly, as long as it's good quality stuff, you should be fine. You'll need to re-grease the ball bearing housings anyway after cleaning them thoroughly with acetone, so you might as well kill two birds with one stone and pick a product that works well for both compression springs and ball bearings. Not to rant again, but something else that really bothered me about this pedal is the odd sizes that Tama chose for the ball bearings. I mean, just look at them. They're really a weird size. If your bearings are completely toast, good luck finding replacements. Last I checked, the cheapest ones that matched the original specs were around $40 per bearing. In my experience, these pedals rarely sell for more than $30 to $40 freedom dollars, and if you're planning to flip one of these to turn a profit, don't expect to make any money. Kick pedal technology has come a long way since these had their heyday, so even if you find an interested buyer, it's probably going to be somebody with a hardcore 80s drumming obsession. So yeah, take extra care not to destroy your ball bearings, and do your best to follow ball bearing restoration tutorials on YouTube, because these are likely the only ones you're going to get. By the way, the orientation of the nylon slot is important when reassembling, if you want the pedal to work correctly, so be aware of that. If in doubt, think smiley face. We're essentially repeating all the disassembly steps in reverse, so as long as you're really generous with grease on the compression spring, you should be fine. Another note here before we close things up. You're probably asking yourself, "Brother, why have you not removed the nylon tip in the compression spring chamber? Is it so blasphemous, brother, to free it from its steel prison so it may once know warm embrace of water and soap? Emancipate it from its tormentor. Why, brother, why?" Well, the answer is simple. I tried prying, screwing, tapping, and rubbing it off, and nothing worked. I wedged a tiny screwdriver head in there, and the only thing that happened was the nylon started to get damaged. Again, know when to quit. It's probably epoxied in there or something, so no amount of prying is going to free it anyway. Perpetual imprisonment. Am I not then to be set free? You think that life is nothing but not being stone dead, but to shut me from the light of the sky, and the sight of the fields and the flowers, to chain my feet so that I can never again ride with the soldiers nor climb the hills. All this is worse than the furnace in the Bible that was heated 7 times. Regardless, once everything is snug, we fancy that stupid nut at the top and replace our ball bearings before tapping in the drive shaft. Again, lubrication, lubrication, and more lubrication is the key here. Fasten the bushing, and then we can close this compartment for the very last time. For the rest of the assembly, it's pretty straightforward. A few screws here, a little adjustment there. Nothing really worth dwelling on. Just remember your washers and try to put them on in the same order you took them off.
I'm gonna do a voiceover here.
With that all done and the footboard all back in place, we can finally put our beater on and admire our handiwork. I think it turned out quite nice. Now, I'm going to briefly mention what I've discovered is a common gripe in the online community surrounding these pedals. And somewhat appropriately, its Achilles heel is right at the foot of the pedal. Remember that all aluminum construction? Yeah, it turns out that aluminum isn't...
My landlord just flushed his toilet.
Well, it turns out aluminum is not the strongest nor most rigid metal when it comes to absorbing repetitive shock from people slamming their foot down on it. I can't tell you how many times I've seen or heard about this issue online. Luckily for us, there's a pretty simple fix.
If you happen to know somebody who works in fabrication or welding.
Thanks, Tonya. The bottom of this pedal has a nice lattice support network, and the aluminum top acts like a nice anchor point where you can simply screw on a slab of steel. It was a pain in the anus that I had to do this in the first place, but at least this little fix should last a very long time. All I did was add a little floor protector sticker on top, and that worked out pretty well. Problem solved. Okay, if you haven't figured it out by now, this video is actually composed of 2 Kingbeat pedals that I fixed simultaneously. And guess what? Both of them had the foot problem. What are the odds? I fixed each one of these with a slightly different thickness of steel, and both worked. Feel free to experiment if there's a better solution out there. Maybe some of you aluminum welders have a cleaner looking or better suited foot repair. I don't know. It's up to you. So let's talk about how this pedal feels and whether I'm going to keep this other one I got for free. That's right, this was a giveaway from my local classifieds. Honestly, I really like the aesthetic of this pedal. After I got it dialed in, it played pretty good. But was it worth it? First of all, it's a relatively heavy feeling pedal. It's something similar in design to like an Axis or a Trick pedal, but it's much more explosive. If you play it slamming backbeats or need ratchet straps on your drum thrum to keep your entire kit from flying away, then well, this pedal is for you. On the plus side, it's sturdy and really is built like a tank, like most of Tama's stuff from the 80s. I like that I can easily fold it up, the footboard is comfortable, and it's easy to pick up from the side without getting spring grease all over your hands. They're cheap, they're readily available, and for what you get, if you put the time and effort into it, you'll end up with a really nice direct drive pedal on your hands. But now for the downsides. This pedal is probably up there in terms of over-engineering I've seen in pedals. I don't know why Tama discontinued it by 86, but if I had to guess, I would say 1, it was probably really expensive to make. 2, it was a very niche, gimmicky pedal aimed at the pros, not the unwashed masses. And 3, the innovations it advertised as advantages became its biggest weaknesses. Besides the non-standard ball bearings, the non-standard spring tension adjustment, and the non-standard construction, the pedal itself doesn't really give you a wildly life-changing feel. When I was a teenager, I remember going to my drum store and trying out an Axis pedal for the first time. Like the Kingbeat, it was all aluminum, but the major difference is that lightweight direct drive pedals are usually designed for speed, not power. Think about iconic drum pedals, the Ludwig Speed King, Iron Cobra, the Demon Drive, the Eliminator, the Axis, the Yellow Jacket, heck even the Ludwig 1909. They all have one thing in common, speed. Sure, the Kingbeat can play quickly and the compression springs are popular in extreme metal for fast response. But where this pedal unfortunately fails is its heavy reliance on grease, how badly these mechanisms deteriorate over time, and how difficult they are to maintain. Honestly, the only pedal I can think of that's worse in this regard is the Ludwig Speed King, which is notoriously painful to restore. Most pedals are compartmentalized. If something fails, it's visible, it's easily accessible, and it's very replaceable. In this case, the 3 million cycle compression spring would have been only available from Tama. Same thing with the ball bearings. And if the body broke, well, you get the idea. Don't get me wrong though, I love the Kingbeat. It's a seriously cool pedal with full-on Terminator vibes. But unfortunately, I ended up selling mine and buying a set of Axis double pedals instead. That said, I still think about this pedal from time to time. And if nothing else, it can rest easy on its way to Valhalla, secure in its place on the drum shelf labeled, pick up in case of emergency, self-defense weapons. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you made it this far and you think I deserved it, you can help the channel by dropping a like or just leaving a comment for engagement or whatever. 2026 is a new year for the channel, and as you may have noticed, I don't upload on YouTube as often anymore. That's because most of my content nowadays is on Instagram, believe it or not. So I'd love it if you went over there and checked it out a little bit. At least I post a lot more regularly than I do here. I also have a Norwegian drum teaching school channel, so I featured the Kingbeat on one of my videos there, so go ahead and check that out if you like Stevie Wonder. Hope all is good, and lastly, a shout out to Steve James over on the Percussion MacGyver group on Facebook for inspiring me on making this video. He actually reached out and asked me about a Kingbeat pedal and how to fix it, and I said, yeah, actually I've got a lot of footage rotting on my hard drive. Going through exactly how to do this. So, thanks Steve. I guess, that's it. I'm Nolan, this is New Drums, and if you liked what you saw here, check out some of my other videos. I got a lot of long format ones here, or go over to Instagram where I post more like day-to-day updates. And yeah, looking forward to 2026. I've actually got a couple of videos in the pipe, so yeah, stick around for those. Anyway, bye.